minutes on the clock. I gotta do this really fast before this card runs out. I just finished one side of the drawer fronts on my miter saw stand. I still have the other side and then 6 more drawers on the outfeed table storage cabinets to finish tonight. So, since I figured out how to do this side, I will show you how to do that side. Alright, if you're using pre-cut ready panels, this is 3/4 inch plywood. It's 2x4 ready panels of ACX from the big box stores. They've already been cut once from a bigger sheet, so go ahead and try and feel if you can tell which of these sides is the cut edge. And because sometimes you'll get an outside edge, sometimes they're both cut edges, and then from there you can decide which of those to register against your fence. Alright, so now this drawer just exceeds the capacity of my miter saw stand. So it's like just at 15 inches. And so I could either mark it, set up a straight edge gauge, and cut it with my circle saw, or I could cut it on the miter stand and flip it, which is what I'm going to do. Okay, so I've already clamped in. I had a piece of angle iron that I'm using as an edge guide. I've clamped that in there and I've taken off the handle already. So the drawer front is prepped and ready to go. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually screw these spacers on to the top of the drawer frame, because what they're going to do is they're going to act like a hook, and that's going to help me locate the drawer exactly where I want it to be. Because once those are on place, I can just hang it on there, clamp it, and then pull the drawer out and screw it from the inside. And should already have all my hardware. That's why it was being weird. I had my drill set to hammer. Now when you sink one of these, you can then start to tighten up and feel for the top of your, make sure that it's flush. Your guide is flush with the top of your drawer front. And your fingers are a really good tool. If you can feel a lip, and then you can know with pretty good confidence that you're not 100% accurate. Alright, so those are installed. I can hang it up here, and I can start to close it a little bit to make sure that I catch my corner. Alright, now I put my clamp somewhere. There they are. Now there's no good way to clamp at the bottom of the drawer, so I just clamp it at the top, and that'll hold it in place long enough for you to set your screws. And here we're going through 2 layers of 3/4 inch ply, so I'm using 8 or 1 1/4 screws, and I'll try to put them in the corner so you get as much holding for it. There, so now we're far enough along we can take our clamps off. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take the guides off. Now, if all of your drawers were perfectly the same, they were all hung the same, and they were all square, and your case was square, you could, and they were all the same size, you could essentially use the same set of spacers for every drawer. However, that's not the case. These aren't, I'll admit that these aren't square or functional. Now, you can close that. And I cut them long on the ends. I'll come along and flush trim them again because they're not square. So now we got to put the handle on. So when I was just going through a single piece of 3/4 inch ply, a 1 1/4 inch screw was enough. Now we need to go up to a 2-inch screw because we're going through 2 layers and into the drawer. The thing that we need to do now though is actually clean up these holes so we don't split the handles. Pre-drill, I've already drilled these out a little bit, but the screws are going to go in deeper. So I'm using a 3/32 drill bit, being careful not to blow out the front. Especially if I'm holding it like this, I don't want to blow through into my hand. And then, so I've pre-drilled that, but I'm also going to take the screw and run it through again to make sure that we don't split these out. So, alright. Apparently I'm popular. My phone's blowing up in my pocket right now. And I'll just run those till they poke through, and then I'll put my handle and line it up. Just go ahead and do that till it's snug. There you go, voila. Drawer number one is done. Just repeat the process as we work our way up. So now the next thing that we're going to do is we can go ahead and make spacers for this next one up on top to hook over the edge. We can also, we'll use these 1/8 inch spacers, and that'll help establish where our the space between our drawers, so that we at least have a uniform spacing all the way up. So I'm just going to go ahead and work through the rest of these, and we'll get finished up at the top. Yeah, take a look.
Oh, fancy. Does it look nice?
Thank you. And there it is. So there are a couple things. Okay, so the drawer fronts on the miter stand are done. I still have to decide whether I'm going to paint them or just leave them as they are and finish them with like a clear poly or tung oil or something. I like oil finishes. And the other thing is, and then I'll have to flush trim them because again the cabinet's not 100% square, but I do want it to be flush. So I'll mark those and route the flush trim. And then I still have to finish the table tops. Can't see the tops. We'll get those done. I do want to talk about the hardware that I use to put those drawers on. And one, simply, you probably saw me changing bits a lot. Now I've got a nice handy dandy adapter on the end. But if you use all the same fastener while you're putting your project together, you don't have to change. So that's a huge savings just in time and the pain in the ass and keeping track of all those little bits. The other is in the type of screws that you use. I know most places, most of the big box stores are starting to sell these now, but they're such a, one, they're coated, great if you're going to use them outside. That's awesome, but getting these ones that have a little, I don't know if you can see this, but yeah, sorry. See if it'll focus. It won't. Here, I want to show you. We're going to screw with the camera. Come on. There it is. So you see that little cutting edge? That's a huge deal, and it helps, even if you do tap pilot holes already, it really helps cut through. There are some of the smaller ones have a little bit a different cutting face. And then their grips, you really probably won't be able to see this, but they do have they've got like nicks in their cutting, in their teeth. So that just helps cut. Focus back. So that helps the screw cut. It helps reduce splitting when you're in the wood. Plywood's a little bit harder to split, but we are getting close to some of the edges of these drawers and boxes or and fronts. So especially when you're going into the shop-made door or handles, which I didn't show this time. I do think I have a video to post about that. So if I haven't posted it already, I will, and if I have posted it, I'll link it. And anyways, that's the drawer fronts. It's gonna look a little funny with my scrap storage out in the air, in the open now. I'm pretty happy with that for now. And then we'll do the outfeed tables next. So, cool. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that showed you how to do quick shop cabinets. It really doesn't take that long. Like my other French cleat stuff, it's all self-referencing. It's all self-referential. Let's try that. Meaning you don't necessarily need to take measurements, you need to mark off of the thing that you're trying to cover. So that's where I was. I could have measured all of those gaps between the drawers and the size of each front, but it's really easy just to put a stick up there and say it needs to go to here, and then mark it and be like, good. And then you get your shims and spacers and everything works out fine. So that being said, have fun, good luck. Catch you next time. Oh, one more thing. So I know I talked about the types of screws, but I forgot to mention the heads. So again, we're gonna, sorry. Is that there? That's in focus. Torx. Man, this makes a world of difference. I really hate flathead screws. I have grown to dislike Phillips and square screws because Torx are just the best. Anyone that argues about that, like, if you've ever rounded out a Phillips or a square drive, or even some of the other ones, like I have yet, I'm not gonna say I've never done it, but the amount of Torx bits that I've rounded out or damaged is minimal. But I will say, trying to get the same size Torx head so you're not bouncing between like a T15 and a T25 bit, because that's what I've been doing. I've been bouncing between a small Phillips, a T15 and a T25 Torx bit. Try to just use one fastener, but I know they're changing between like a number 6 up to a number 6 screw is a T15 and a number 8 is a T25. And so anyways, hopefully we'll standardize on T25, but I don't know. Anyways, Torx bits, the way to go.